They booed Lando. The Mexican fans, they booed him. I'm not sure what that was about. What are Mexicans like? Not Lando, apparently. Thick thighs, yes. Work trucks, yes. Flour tortillas, yes. I don't know exactly all that they like, but they do not like Lando. Not sure what that's all about. All right, you ready to go, son?
I'm ready to go.
Hello, welcome to Hard Compound, an American take on Formula One. Just finished Mexico Grand Prix. That was a good race. Not because of who won, because Lando kind of had it easy. I mean, I don't think he even needed to look in his mirrors. But it was a good race because that's a race that people need to study. You know, it's like the importance of qualifying, pit stops, tire strategy, tire management, overtake, pushing people outside, or getting that line. So they got to give you the space. That was all good. That was all in there. All right, Patrick, son, give me your review of the Mexico Grand Prix.
Oh boy. I don't know what to say. I mean, look, we did it for years for Max and years for Lewis before, sort of discounting how good their weekends were, or just how maybe easy they had it. But look, last few weeks, last few races, everybody's been saying, can Lando catch Oscar? Well, we don't know. But the bigger story was Max is coming for the title. He's going to take it from both of you. Lando said, hey, you know what? Hold my beer. And this weekend, he laid it down. And he said, nope, I'm winning. So, I mean, we only got a few races left. But that was a statement win, I think, from Lando.
It was a statement win. And we haven't seen that much from him. That was a good thing. But let me pose some questions to you, Patrick.
All right.
What's going on with Oscar? Is it sabotage? A lot of people are saying it's sabotage.
It's sabotage. It is sabotage for sure.
I mean, there's sabotage and then there's team favoritism where you're getting all the best strategy, the best engineering, the best setup, the best crew, the love from the team principal.
I mean, I don't think you go from being, 40, 50 points ahead a couple races ago of your teammate for the massive world championship lead to being mediocre and cannot pass a fucking Haas. I don't think that happens just because, you're not driving so well. There's something else going on.
Okay, I agree, but
Lando won by over 30 seconds. Oscar couldn't get past a Haas with a rookie driver in it. Okay. And Look, credit to Ollie Behrman. Dude was on fire this weekend.
Yeah.
But look, you're in a McLaren, you're dominating this season. Your teammate is winning this race by over 30 seconds. This is where we always had those conversations about Bottas and Perez as the teammate. Oh, your teammate is winning by 30 seconds? Well, at least you came in second.
Right.
Oscar came in fifth, barely. I don't know.
Okay, so there's sabotage. There's Lando finally putting it together the way we always thought he could, but it's just sort of like he needed that championship medal. He needed that indomitable spirit that he showed this weekend. But the third part is, I mean, this is race 20. It's a 24 race season. We've got sprints. This is a grind. I mean, on the rookies, the rookies can pass out. This is an exhausting sport. How long has Oscar been in this? Is it 2 years, 3 years? I mean, this is
third season.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he is a good driver. I think we know Lando is a good driver. I don't know that either one of them have really shown they wanted to win the Drivers' Championship, possibly until this race, when Lando seemed to make it very clear, I want to win and I will win. And so now he's ahead by one single point. But, I think Oscar, it's only a few seasons. He maybe hasn't, and this is like the longest season, 24 races, like you said. It's a damn long season. You start testing in February, early February, basically. I mean, it's been, that's 8-9 months at this point that they've been driving.
He's from Australia. His last few weeks, Texas, Mexico. He's heading down to Brazil in a couple weeks. That's a grind.
It's a grind. I mean, I think everybody goes through it also. All these drivers are going through it too, right? So, but I think maybe that's where that experience comes in. And just like you have to have some kind of mental fortitude to go with these ups and downs, and maybe you're not in form, maybe the car is not feeling like how you want it to, but you got to figure out how to get back on track. And Verstappen is the king of that. Hamilton has done that throughout his whole career. Lando maybe has figured it out for himself. It's hard to tell with just one race, small sample size, obviously, but I thought it was pretty telling the way this weekend kind of went. So
now I'm thinking about Alonso. I mean, dude's like in his 40s. Imagine when he finally quits. He's going to be like one of those Russian guys that like spent 3 years on the space station. He's going to sort of have to lay down in the hospital for months, until they reconfigure his spine and his joints and his organs are all, operational for normal Earth life, Okay, now we've talked Lando, we've talked Oscar. What about Max? I've called Max the Michael Jordan of F1. In these last 4 races, that's his game 6. But does he have the car?
Look, it's tough to say. I mean, when you look at qualifying and just kind of go on sheer pace, what is the prime pace that your car has? I mean, Max wasn't able to pull out a top row slot. He started pretty far back and had to scrap his way. And scrap, I think, is very apt for what he was doing for most of this race.
Yeah, a little dirty, taking Lewis out.
I mean, it was tough racing. He figured out how to get through all of that, both unscathed and without being penalized for some reason.
Right,
Don't know how that happened.
Right.
But, he figured out a way to do it. And then should have come P2 if not for motherfucking Carlos Sainz at the end of the race, just going, "Hey, Ferrari, I'm going to do you a big favor here, okay? I'm just going to park my car on the side of the road here and finish under a virtual safety car."
That's true. Yeah, I mean, what was going on in Mexico? I mean, they like, no penalty, 10 seconds for Lewis, no penalty. They've got this virtual safety car when we're all like, oh, it's going to be a battle, P2, P3, Charles, Max, this is going to be a battle for the ages. Like, no, virtual safety car. And Liam had that thing where it's like, hey, well, we're going to have a new sport. In Mexico, like, they get bored easily. So apparently they decided we're going to have a new sport. We're going to have you guys just run across the track really, really fast. You might get killed because this car is coming at you 200 kilometers an hour, but it'll be fun.
Yeah. I don't know what was happening. It was ridiculous. But I will say, going back to Max, he is obviously, Lando put a little bit more distance between him, but I think Max goes, "Hey, look, not a great weekend. We didn't have a pace for this. And yet I am closer to P1 in the Drivers' Championship than I was last week. That's a good sign. I'm closer. It's to a different driver, but I'm closer."
Right. Time is running out, but it's closer. Like, he needs...
We got 4 races, right? That's 36 points. That's like 8 points a race.
2 sprints left
just
or one?
No, there's 2 actually.
Okay,
there's
one
2.
in Brazil last year.
And Qatar, right?
Okay. I think so. I know we had one in Brazil last year. I never know when they're going to have sprint. Yeah, so Oscar needs 0.3 points advantage over the next 4 weekends. Max needs 9. I don't see how he gets that in that car unless there's maybe a disaster. Lando gets a DNF. Oscar continues coming in 4th, 5th. That's possible. Right now it's Lando at 357, Oscar at 356. I mean, that's pretty impressive. I mean, they've got the constructors sewn up weeks ago, and the drivers almost split exactly. Then the opposite case at Red Bull, Max is in 3rd at 321 out of, what do they have? 346. Oh my goodness. I think George might still theoretically be in it. I'm not sure. He's at 258. George is having a heck of a season.
That's just under
Charles
100 points. So technically, Mathematically, he is, right? Because you can score,
you're right.
that would be 116
4
points
DNFs.
total.
But oh my God! I hope this happens just because of the drama of it. Because I mean, there's rumors of 2 teams being over the spending cap, and there's rumors on top of those rumors that there's serious breaches. Now, remember, like a few years ago when they first started the spending cap, they hit Red Bull for going over, and a lot of Red Bull stuff was administrative. Did they use tax breaks? How was this person's job site? And I felt at the time that they had punished Red Bull too harshly, but I said they had to make a case for what little is really here, even though there's a lot of Red Bull and Christian Horner haters. What's really here, I don't think rises that much, but we need to start setting an example. And I think at the time I said, but going forward, if there's a serious breach, they need to come down hard. Imagine if it's McLaren. Oh my gosh. Wouldn't that be awesome? And they're like, we're going to deduct 50 points.
That would be
each,
hilarious.
Now, I mean, they could, because they can right now. I mean, geez, McLaren's at 713 points. Ferrari's at 356. They could say, we're deducting 200 points. They still win the constructors. But how do they split that with the drivers?
I don't think they take it from the drivers. I think it's just team points, so it doesn't affect the driver standings. I think, but I'm not sure.
That robs us. That's like the virtual safety car. That robs us of the drama that we demand. I don't know. Okay, so Max, 9 points. We'll see. Did you think Lewis deserved that 10-second penalty?
Absolutely not. Well, so I think that was good, kind of fun racing. He was mostly pushed off the track. I think he locked up, which didn't help, so a little bit on him. But then he went down the escape road. And from my understanding, that's what the drivers were told to do. He was investigated for following race director's instructions, which they said, all right, good enough. You did enough. And then said, but actually, you should have done something different. You get a 10-second penalty. That to me is kind of bullshit. Like, look, you told us to do this, so I did that. And then you're also telling me, you're actually not telling me what I have to do after that, and then just giving me a penalty for it. You should be more clear. If you give instructions, you can't give half of the instructions. And that's what it seemed like they did to Lewis.
Yeah. I sort of felt, it's like, look, you went off track. You gained an advantage that you didn't give back. I'm fine with the penalty. Having said that, I also still felt it was like one of those penalties that we'll see a lot in NFL games where it's like, yeah, they did that. It wasn't egregious and they didn't call it. Someone else did it. It wasn't egregious. They didn't call it. Late in the game, when it's a sort of a deciding factor and someone does it a little bit more almost egregious, then it's a huge penalty. And it's like, well, it's like, yes, you did. The penalty is correct in that sense, but when it's not administered sort of equally throughout,
I mean, both Leclerc and
unfair.
Verstappen, and I think even Russell, all pretty much should have gotten penalties for the same or similar things within the first, 5-6 laps. And then Hamilton goes off and they're like, you're the one person that's getting a penalty. It's like, well,
right.
I don't think that that's really fair or reasonable. And because of the fact that it was like, there were race director's instructions for how to go off track and re-enter. And it seemed like maybe he didn't do them perfectly from what everyone was saying. But like, they didn't give him a penalty for that. So in my mind, that means you think he followed the instructions. So then why are you then penalizing him for something else due to that incident for him following the instructions? I don't get it.
Yeah. Now, that penalty sort of had a cascading effect. So he wound up having a poor weekend. Charles wound up having a pretty good weekend. I mean, he finished P2. Thanks to Carlos, he was able to fight off Max and get that second position. But it's just, Ferrari's troubles continue. I mean, they're second in the constructors, half as many points though as McLaren. And they're one ahead of Mercedes. And they have, supposedly the dream team of Leclerc and Hamilton. Instead of going on and on about Ferrari being so poor as we have all season, I mean, they fought until the very end for the constructors last year. This year's just been a fall off. Do we think that might happen next year for McLaren? Do we see something like that happening?
It would be surprising considering they are one of the few, I think it's 4 or 5 teams that have basically outright said for a while now, we're focusing on 2026. We're not continuing development on this car. So I would be surprised if they did have such a dramatic regression in performance. But a lot of that also comes down to how good Mercedes power unit is going to be. I expect it to be the best of the power unit constructors. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, Ferrari kind of fascinates me with their situation because I mean they were right there at the very end last year, and we posed that potentially Sainz's end of season shortcomings were one of the reasons he was let go. And this season, it's just crazy how poor they've been all season. And even this weekend, they brought upgrades. And you look at the upgrades and what they were supposed to do, it was all for cooling and blah, blah, blah. And then 5 laps in, they're like, hey, you got to lift and coast in order to cool this shit down. It's like, well, what are the fucking upgrades for?
Right. But let me pose this, just because I'm just trying to cause trouble. What if they haven't had a drop off? What if McLaren has just unlocked some amazing secret to this car? Or 2, McLaren has cheated the whole time. They're radically over the spending cap. They just cheated. I mean, Ferrari fought to the very end and just missed out on the constructors last year. This year, after the Mexico 20th race, they have 356 points. Mercedes at 355. Red Bull's at 346. And yet, McLaren, though, has doubled everyone. It sort of doesn't add up. Is there something fishy here, Patrick?
Last season, Ferrari was obviously much closer to the top, but they had pulled away from the other 2, Red Bull and Mercedes. So potentially Mercedes is, much better, I think, than they were last year. I think Red Bull is maybe about the same. And, Ferrari, potentially they could be at about where they were last year, but it's sort of meaningless if you have incremental improvement while others have radical improvement, right? So,
right.
I mean, if they end up somehow kind of skating into P2 by the end of the season, all things considered, that's acceptable, right? Don't look at the gap between them and P1. But, you came in P2 last year, you did it again, you beat out Red Bull and Mercedes and everybody else. You look to 2026 and you kind of have a renewed excitement for potentially what they can become with, retaining Lewis and Charles, new regulations. We'll see.
Man, it's just been so long.
It's been a long time.
It's just been so long for Ferrari, and it goes fast. I mean, here we have all these rookies, test driving. We got young guys driving, and then we got, this weekend we had a bunch of guys doing practicing. And it goes fast. It's funny because I saw it was a great article in the F1 site about how many championships would they have won using the current point system. Lewis 7, he still would have. But Alan Proust, who I think is, I know he's French, I'm not saying it properly, but I mean, just to me, one of the all-time greats. And I was shocked he has 4 championships. He would have 7 if it was the current point system. Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing. And I mentioned this to somebody who's an F1 fan. He listens, and he paused, he hesitated, and I realized he didn't know who Alan Proust was. Alain Prost. I don't know how you say his name. I'm American, all right? He didn't know, and I'm like, man, I know I'm old, but I don't know. We have to teach these younger fans like you, Patrick. I know that's what you're doing.
Show them the video of Seb Vettel recalling every single world champion in order. I mean, that's remarkable what he's able to do. But
there was a work party last week, several days ago, and our area in this event space was cordoned off. And if you wanted to drink, and I did, the hostess said, "Oh, you need a wristband." I said, "Sir, you need a wristband." And I said, "Oh, like the Paul Simon song." And she didn't know what I was talking about. And I said, like the Paul Simon song. And they're like, "I don't need to be cute. No, I'm just gonna head home." But then I stopped. I'm like, "Wait." I turned, I'm like, "You know who Paul Simon is?" And she had no clue. I was like, "Oh my God, you're in your 20s." So I don't know. They don't know. We need to educate these newer F1 fans lovingly, but they need to be educated. So switching to the soft compound, the European mind cannot comprehend college football. I know we've brought this up before, but I spent my Saturday flipping between Mexico qualifying and college football. I think the Europeans do not comprehend that Michigan, Penn State, Texas, Ohio State, Tennessee, I know, they're getting 100,000 plus fans in the seats. Millions are watching on TV. These are college students playing football. Okay. And it's like, hey, we helped push F1 in America. And I think we need a secondary mission of pushing college football into Europe. Okay. I mean, it's fun, but also it's not just fun. It's tradition. We have this deep connection because if we went to that school, our parents went to that school, we have a deep connection to that school. So we cheer for that team. And they just have some cool stuff. I mean, we now have like some of the guys will go shirtless the whole time, even if it's like bitter cold, We've got the college game day, which is the big kind of pre-game show on ESPN. And they have like a kicking contest where a college student can win $100,000, $200,000 if he makes a field goal. There would be some cool stuff, I think, that we could incorporate, create new traditions and really make it kind of even more festive, I think.
It would be kind of hilarious to see like an Oxford-Cambridge rivalry game, Just a bunch of.
I mean, there's just a lot of generational connections. Like someone might now like McLaren. They may like have a crush on Lando, or it might be guys like, oh, I like the winning team. And 5 years from now, maybe he's a Williams fan or he's with Mercedes. I mean, in college football, it's generational. It's like, oh, my dad went there, and I go there. I want my son to go there, and then each game. Admittedly, it's not 24. There's only about 12 games, but 100,000 show up. There's big festivities. There's tailgating. It's just such a raucous atmosphere, and I think F1 could learn from college football. I think the FI clearly and Liberty Media clearly following the NFL playbook of how to increase value. I think they now need to start checking out college football and how to just make it more fun and create like sort of deeper, lasting connections.
I think that would be kind of fun to have like different traditions that teams create, fight songs and like, have their own walkouts and, that kind of thing, because it's fun. It's fun, right? When we see like Ferrari's home race, right? And you get like at Monza or Imola, whichever one they want to go to, usually both. And you get the Tifosi riled up and they're going crazy and waving their flags and shooting off flares. But even that is just like, well, Europeans are just being crazy now. I think maybe focus the energy into some more kind of tradition would be cool. But, same thing happens in Netherlands, right? When they go to Zandvoort and, we got all the Max fans. So they're all going crazy and raucous. And it's fun. I think that's a cool atmosphere. But I kind of agree with you. I think that needs to be channeled in a way that makes it more inviting or connected to newer fans or kind of any fans at all.
Dirty air? Patrick, we done been told you. We told them We told them 2 years ago Christian Horner was going to form his own team because that was the one thing missing. He didn't have an ownership in Red Bull, and he wants that. We said there's going to be a 12th team. Do you think this is going to happen, though? We said it. Do you think it's going to happen? Do you think Horner's coming back? Do you think he'll be a part owner? Do you think it'll be of a 12th team or maybe buy a piece of Alpine? What do you think?
I kind of think he will be, but he's really got to do the dirty work. I think he's got to grease the wheel a little bit. And I think it'll be challenging. It's a lot more challenging now than it would have been if he had just left Red Bull 5 years ago,
Yeah.
And so I think it's been made pretty clear that a lot of people currently in F1 don't really like Christian Horner. But I think he has the mindset and the capability in order to do it. And I think he would want to. So I definitely wouldn't rule it out. I think it's a real possibility for him to take some kind of stake in a team, whether that's an incoming 12th team or something else that gets kind of put up for kind of a ventured interests.
Yeah, I think as much as he wants to and can do it and should do it. I mean, look at what FIA did with Andretti. I mean, he did everything. The man's a legend. He did everything. They're like, no, we don't like you, so you're out. And I mean, look, probably now with Horner gone, with Red Bull's owner dead, I mean, I'm going to say on the grid, no one's more powerful than Total Wolff. He does not particularly like Christian Horner. I'll say second now is Zach Brown. Now he's not a co-owner, but I'll say he's the second most powerful guy on the grid. He does not like Christian Horner. They're going to really need to see the money, I think, or Christian Horner will have to backdoor it somehow and maybe make a sweetheart deal with the people who do put up the money, let's say to buy Alpine, because I don't think Alpine is long for this world. That might be a way to do it. And then it's like, oh, we now part owner. I guess what? Christian Horner is going to be our team principal. There you go. We also been told people that Apple was going to buy the F1 streaming rights in the US. That has now happened. That's now official. Starts next year. One of the big issues that people have been having is saying, well, nobody watches Apple TV, which is true. Nobody. 8 billion people in the world, maybe 8 watch it. But I think there's a counter to that. Because this weekend, now I subscribe to F1 TV, which will be subsumed by Apple. A lot of people are saying, well, if it's on Apple, then you're going to kill the growth in America. You might get more money in the short term, but nobody's watching. You're not going to have fans. It's now on ESPN, sometimes on ABC, the broadcast network. But the thing is, like, ESPN spends no money on it. They don't promote, they don't create their own content. They don't promote it. There's practically 22 hours of sports news on ESPN every day. There's almost zero mention of F1 ever, even when it was in Texas. Like this weekend, I turned to ESPN and the qualifying on Saturday is on like ESPN Ocho, I think it was. I don't even know what the hell that is. I think Ocho was 8 in Mexican. I'm not sure it's Spanish, I think, for 8. All right. Like it's not like, oh, it's being shown to everybody who wants to see it now. Almost no one can see it, So I don't know. I just want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think ESPN does a particularly good job currently of promoting the sport or kind of, getting people interested or involved in it. So I'm not sure. Maybe Apple is going to be a little bit less, but not by as much, I think, as people would be led to expect. Plus, look, they spent $300 some million on a movie and they made all of it back. They did pretty well. Movie did pretty well. I don't know. I think their broadcasting would probably be fine. And, well, I hope it is because that's the only way I'm going to be able to watch it. So,
right. Across the line, that is our segment where we predict the top 5 for the next race. The next race is in 2 weeks. We go further south from Mexico City to Brazil, south and east. Now, in Across the Line, we predict who will finish in the top 5. If our driver does, we get a point. If he finishes in the exact right spot we predict, we get 3 points. Patrick, what are the current standings for Across the Line?
Well, this was another nice weekend for me. So, coming into this week, I was leading by a slim margin, 64 to your 62. This week's top 5 in the race ended up being Norris, Leclerc, Verstappen, Behrman, Piastri. Your picks: Verstappen, Russell, Leclerc, Tsunoda, Sainz. So that means 1 point for Verstappen, 1 point for Leclerc, 2 total, both in the top 5, not in the positions that you picked them in. Me, I had Norris, Piastri, Hamilton, Behrman, Antonelli.
Behrman?
So I had
fourth and Norris
Behrman in 4th place. Rewind the tape.
Wow.
So I had 3 points for Norris, 1 point for Piastri, and then 3 points for Behrman. So Norris and Behrman both in the positions that they finished in, Piastri in the top 5. So that brings my total to 71 points to your 64.
Wow, that was a huge jump. Dang. Brazil's got to come through. Last year was that crazy. That was the legend of Max. That was in the rain. I mean, he started, was it like 17th, and I don't know how the hell he did that. And then I'm talking about the death of Alpine. That was Ocon Gasly at P2,
Oh, that
P3.
was the crazy.
Right?
Yeah. That was outrageous. This is the only reason they didn't finish dead fucking last year.
Right.
So
Brazil. The legend of Alpine and Max.
Yeah, we'll see.
And then I went back. I speaking of rewinding the tape, I actually listened to last year's Brazil episode. I thought this was an interesting quote. He said Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris, and maybe in a few years Oscar Piastri will be considered among the greats, and perhaps even George Russell among them. Not a bad prediction.
Maybe so.
Okay. All right. So across the line for Brazil, Sao Paulo, 2 weeks from now. Who goes first?
I have first pick.
Dang.
And look, Brazil is typically where the champions kind of come through. Max has done it. Lewis did it to make that final stand, I think, in the 21 season. It was an impressive race from him. I don't know if the McLaren drivers have the medal, so I am going to take Max P1.
Just like last year, a repeat. Nice. Well, then I'm going to split the difference. I'm going to say Oscar comes through, and so does George Russell.
Ooh, George Russell. He was not happy this weekend.
No.
But yeah, maybe getting on the podium in Brazil would make him happy.
This is what I've been saying. Like, look, we need to have kind of a multi-view audio version. I want to hear all the radio chat. I should be able to just flip through each driver and just hear all the chatter. I'll pay extra for that.
I think that would be fun. Let's see. Me, I took Max. I take the hot hand. I'll take Lando, P2. And then good old Charles Leclerc, I guess I'll take to round out my podium.
Nice. I'm going to take his teammate, Lewis, who knows how to race in Brazil. And then the Spaniard, Alonso. Piss poor week this week, but I think he's going to come through in Brazil.
Nice. Man, I'm looking at the standings here, and Aston is just 3 points back of Racing Bulls right now. And Haas, oh my God, 6th to 9th is just 12 points between them. That is crazy.
That's pretty impressive.
Anything could happen with those teams.
Yeah, Williams is stuck in the middle, and they had a forgetful weekend.
Yeah, they were like great for the first third half of the season, and then just sort of petered out. It seems like every once in a while, one of them pops up into the top 5, which is kind of goofy, but it's a much better season for them than the last decade. So it's pretty good. Let's see. I've got Verstappen, Norris, Leclerc. I will take Antonelli. I think he had a nice weekend this weekend. And then P5, I'll go with the other Spaniard, Carlos Sainz.
Nice. So for Sao Paulo, in 2 weeks, you have Max, Lando, Charles, Kimi Antonelli, and Carlos Sainz. I have Oscar, George Russell, Lewis Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, and I'm not going to go with Ollie Behrman. I'm going to go with his teammate Hulk, who's been silent for too long. Any crazy predictions, Patrick?
My crazy prediction. I think the one that I wrote down was an immediate thought during the race because I was like, Fernando is just cursed. He's cursed. So I wrote down, Alonso does not finish another F1 race in his career.
Wow.
4 races left this season. Aston is struggling.
They are.
I don't know. I think, because if he doesn't finish another race this season, I don't think that he would come back.
Yeah. I think you get to a certain point and then it's just over. That would be a poor way to finish, but it could happen. My crazy prediction, not so crazy, since I've had to write about Apple and iPhone over the years, and I podcast about F1. I will be, by next summer, publishing a book. Listen to this title. I'm workshopping the title, Patrick. Apple and F1, How iPhone Money and American Influencers Seize Control of Europe's Coolest Sport.
There you go.
Nice. All right. I want to thank you all for listening to everybody's most beloved father and son F1 podcast. It is much appreciated. We are lights out.
See ya. Thanks for listening.
You just finished listening to Hard Compound, recorded in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and around the world.